Hey guys, what's up? Dingo Crikey here with another commentary video. This time I'm going to be discussing some news on the future of the Transformers live action films. So recently this conference occurred. The conference was called the MIP Junior Conference of 2015. Don't know all the details of it, but it seems like something where a lot of people from Hasbro will come and speak, let people know what are some directives with the company, how's it been doing, some of their products, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, we had this keynote speech by Hasbro's Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer, Stephen Davis, and he has revealed some pretty eye-opening information in regards to not only Transformers 5, but the future of the Transformers film franchise as a whole. Now, as a disclaimer, there have been a lot of rumors floating around on the internet about the future Transformers films, and a lot of confusion, statements taken out of context, so we've kind of been trained to be skeptical about anything we hear about the future of the Transformers films. However, considering Mr. Davis's position and that this seems to be a more formal event, his words probably have more credence. Nevertheless, maybe he's speaking off the cuff sometimes, exaggerating a little bit. I mean, we don't really know for sure at this point. You guys can of course make your own conclusions, as I will have a link to the video with the keynote speech in the description below. But for right now, I'm just going to talk about what was said, and I'm going to give an analysis along with my personal thoughts on it. So, what was exactly said by Mr. Davis? And I'm going to read some quotes here. Mind you, this of course wasn't written, it was inferred from a video, so tried my best to write down exactly what he said, so maybe I missed a word or here, but here we go. Quote, "Well, you're gonna see a new Transformers movie coming from Hasbro and Paramount and Michael Bay." End quote. Then he goes on to talk about the writer's room for a little bit, which is something, we've kind of been hearing about for the last few months. And of course he mentions that this writer's room was led by Akiva Goldsman. And, he seems to have a lot of confidence in the writer's room, as we've heard a lot of positive things about it. And he says that this writer's room has planned out the next 10 years of Transformers, which seems to be in reference to the films, of course. Then one more quote. Quote, "Stay tuned, Transformers 5 is on its way, and 6, and 7, and 8. End quote. So you could take the information as you would like, but there you have it from Mr. Davis. What can we really infer from what was said? Well, he seemed to be pretty direct about a number of things. Something that wasn't too surprising for me was that he mentioned Michael Bay along with the people involved with the upcoming Transformers film. Now, when he mentions this, he does seem to be just referring to Transformers 5. That isn't to say Michael Bay won't be on board for these other films if they're going to be made, but that seems to be what he is explicitly referring to. Now, there has been a lot of debate within the community about whether or not Michael Bay will be returning, and do we know or do we have confirmation, since there's all these kind of statements by Mark Wahlberg out there, other people involved in the movie, and then of course you have the press putting out all kinds of rumors and stuff like that as well. I've always believed, even before we really had information, when it sounded like Michael Bay might be leaving after Age of Extinction, that he was going to be on board for Transformers 5, basically no matter what. And as more information was coming out, to me it seemed to point towards this idea that Michael Bay would be returning. While he doesn't say what role Michael Bay will have in the new film, and maybe this isn't 100% confirmation for a lot of people, as Bay hasn't explicitly stated it himself, at least as far as I know, this sounds pretty convincing. Not 100%, but I'm really leaning towards the idea that Michael Bay is going to be back. I mean, this isn't just an actor stating that they think Michael Bay will be returning. This is the vice president of Hasbro, and Hasbro basically being the originator of Transformers, you would imagine they have some pretty close ties to knowing what's going on with the films. So, it's still up to speculation. Maybe we can't know 100% for sure, but I'm thinking Michael Bay is going to be back. And then, of course, Paramount's going to be doing the movie. That's not really surprising. And, well, Hasbro, of course. Then we have the comments about the writer's room and Akiva Goldsman. Like I said, this is stuff we've kind of known for a while. What is really interesting here is that he seems to be furthering the idea that, this is something they're in for the long haul. He mentions for the next 10 years of Transformers. So that's pretty interesting. On a basic level, it would of course imply that these people have, basically committed to having the films carry out for another 10 years. But also I'm wondering if they've kind of made some outline of the plot for these films. I think this was kind of the case with Avengers, where they do have an overall plot. Basically, it's all leading up to Thanos, and that's going to kind of be the end game. This makes me think that, maybe they already have an outline for these next 10 years. I'm really hoping that's the case, so we don't just have one movie starting a plotline, then ending it, then that happening again. Of course, Age of Extinction did show us that they were kind of planning ahead, so hopefully that's what they're going to be doing with the next films. Then we have the next quote where he basically tells us to keep an eye out for Transformers 5, and that 6, 7, and 8 will be on their way as well. Now, to me, it sounded a little bit like he might have been speaking off the cuffs with the mention of 7 and 8, but, with the 10 years of Transformers supposedly planned, it would kind of make sense. And this is, of course, really big news, because we've had those rumors going around that we would have a lot more Transformers films, but, this really furthers the notion that, we will really be getting them. Now, he doesn't say anything about the spin-off films or anything like that. This seems to pertain to the Bayformers universe and this storyline rather than like a Bumblebee spin-off or something like that. So that's all he's really mentioned here. Nothing about the spin-offs, not giving confirmation or saying they're not happening. I was thinking it was probable that we may get another Transformers film trilogy, of course starting with Age of Extinction, and then all of these other films that they were talking about would be spin-off films. But this looks like we're going to get at least 2 additional films to the Transformers trilogy. And so what does this mean for the future of Transformers and for the films? Well, as far as the future of Transformers, it looks as though, we're going to have the films around for a while. Doesn't look as though we're going to be getting a reboot, as, he's kind of said 5, 6, 7, and 8, as opposed to mentioning a reboot or something like that. So, basically we're probably going to have this big marketing around for Transformers for a very long time, rather than it returning to basically what it was throughout, like the early 2000s, the 90s with Beast Wars, that kind of thing. Personally, I really wanted a reboot. I still wanted Transformers movies, but I really was hoping we would get a reboot. Either way, though, it does keep Transformers in the spotlight, and it looks like these new movies may be better. I'm of the opinion Age of Extinction was better than the previous 3, so hopefully these new writers will even step up the game from that, but all speculation at this point. Either way, I think it's good that, the Transformers franchise stays really relevant with movies, gives lots of stuff to talk about, should be getting lots of cool figures, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully another line like Revenge of the Fallen. That'd be really cool. Anyways, as far as the film's plotline, I think this might really change things up. I've been doing predictions for what we might see in Transformers 5 and some on Transformers 6, but the fact that they're going to have 2 more movies after that, might mean things are stretched out a lot longer, or they have time for a lot more stuff, such as Nemesis Prime, or bringing in the Predacons and Maximals even. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but they may have the time for that kind of stuff now. I still think Unicron will probably be the end game for the Transformers films, in which case we probably won't be introduced to him in Transformers 5. Maybe a little sneak peek, but we're not going to have him be the big bad in the following film, which would be Transformers 6. I think they're probably saving him till the end if they're going to use him, which definitely changes a lot of people's, myself included, predictions for Transformers 6. Nevertheless, we should still see the creators in Transformers 5, and hopefully we'll start getting some hints as to what is the end game for the film, sort of like, we see with Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Anyways, final thoughts. This does sound pretty cool. Was kind of hoping for a reboot. Not all of us are the biggest fans of Bayformers, and unfortunately it looks like he is going to be, at least having some involvement in these films, whether it's directing or something else. Don't really think Michael Bay is good news altogether, but it does look as though we're going to still have that writer's room on board, and hopefully they have come up with some pretty cool ideas. As always, we might want to take news on the Transformers film franchise with a little bit of a grain of salt, just because of all those reasons I explained earlier, where, you have lots of rumors and that kind of stuff. But, coming from Mr. Davis, it does seem a little bit more official. That's all I have for this video. If you would like to hear more news on the Transformers films, cartoons, and toy lines, along with commentary and opinion, keep up with the channel for regular uploads. You can also check out some of the previous videos on my channel for more Transformers related stuff. And if you want to browse through the videos by subject, you can check out my various playlists. Also, feel free to drop off your thoughts on this topic in the comment section below, and along with your thoughts on this topic, you can also let me know if you have any topic suggestions or questions for my future videos. Of course, when there's big Transformers news such as this, I'm sure to cover it in a video, but I also focus on discussion-based topics. They may or may not, deal with news. They could deal with a previous series, as I just did a video on Beast Machines. You can also follow me on Twitter for regular updates on Transformers and Bionicle buys and other cool stuff. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more news and commentary, and have a good one guys, I'll see you soon.